Hi, one is just going to talk about a micro teaching for the teacher educator. See, whenever we see that micro mean very small, okay. So teaching when we have to teach for the students. So micro teaching mean a big mean macro, okay. So micro mean it is of a small teaching. Whenever we are teaching the students, yeah, the teacher cannot go enter into it and cannot teach the big group. So we should have a practice makes a man perfect. So what can the teacher do? The teacher should make a small group of 5 to 10 students. First we have to start with 5 students. And teacher educator among that they have become a student like. So the teacher in 100 students were admitted over there and joined over in a BEd college. So they have 10 students must be there in the micro teaching. So among 10 into 10, 100. So 10 teachers also there in the BEd college. So each and every teacher they are having 10 students and they are divided into 10 groups. So the teacher, those who are studying a teacher itself they have framed a student like they acted like a dummy student like mock student. They used to act it like this. So they have to do the practice. Okay. So the group is divided into 10 group. Each and every group here I should have a 10 student teacher. Okay. So those who are getting a practice. It is in practice. Practice is of three training. Training is of three types. In service training, post service training, in service post service and extra service. Okay, in service training when whenever teacher teaches the lesson within the training itself they should have a practice. In service training when normal training that we are having in BEd college. Outside training mean whenever you consider this training outside like a camp, what got a extension work like extraordinary work, extension work like. So whenever we are consider the micro teaching means the teacher teaches the lesson and 10 student we have to divide into each and every group and in front of the 10 student they have to teach it. That is called a micro teaching. Okay, micro means small group of student training. So whenever they are teaching they cannot teach it directly. So they have to practice for each and every aspects also there. So I will explain one by one. Okay, so the small group, we have to make it, we have to prepare a lesson plan for the micro teaching and so many skills were there. Example, introduction skill, stimulus variation, then changing speech pattern, then changing speech pattern, changing from, then questioning we are asking, types of questioning. Among these, we have the 6 skills of micro teaching. Okay, mainly introduction is important, and stimulus variation and questioning skill, and question the use of AV aids, audio visual aids, and then stimulus variation. As I already told, and making question. These are at least 6 skills must be closure, last, then a people movement, student movement, that is interaction skill, okay, movement of teacher student. That these are the 6 skills we have to practice and we have to put it into one packet and we have to include in the macro teaching. That is very very important. As micro teaching, it is very very important. So without a micro teaching, we cannot go to the macro teaching. Whenever the driver drives a car, a driver cannot go fastly. When it is a bus driver, train driver, or any driver, you should have a practice. First, you have to do the practice for less distance. Then they have to go little far. Then they have to little far. Then they have to make a local vehicles. They have to ride it. Then after that only they have to go a long distance. This is the procedure. Similarly, whenever the teacher teaches the lesson, first teacher starts the micro, small group of people, then after they have to take a big group and they have to pick a group. So many skills were skill stimulus variations. So among all, at least for 10 skills we have to give importance. So, and we have to put it in one packet whenever we are having macro teaching. So, before teaching the micro teaching skill is very, very important. And the teacher should have a practice to teach in micro teaching. I will explain one by one. First, you should know about the micro teaching. This may come for 5 marks. Okay, explain about micro teaching. Okay, so whenever you're having the micro teaching, what is the use mean? You have to get your practice. Practice makes someone perfect. You cannot teach for a very big group. So when for teaching a big group, first we have to make practice a small group. Then after that only, like within the whenever we are considered be your college, the teacher, student teacher it should be itself the like take a student and in front of the colleagues 5 to 10 minutes lesson plan they have to prepare and they have to teach in front of them. That is called a micro teaching. 5 minutes, okay, each and everybody they will get a 5 minutes. 5 to 10 students. If you have 10 students, is maximum. Minimum 5 students. And they have to prepare a lesson plan and at least 10 skills they have to prepare. I will explain about the criteria within that. Okay. So if you practice to teach it in a micro teaching, then only they will become a good teacher. Unless and until small children they are walking, they have to first they try to turn to this side and that side and try to sit down and try to roaming. Then they to sit down small child. Then they have to move from one place to another. They have to sit stand and they have to touch and they have to touch any wall or anything. Is to walk it and slowly they have to run like this. So, and after completion of BA, BCom, and those who are completed BCom, BA, those completed BA, BCom, and BSc Maths, Science, and BA History, Geography, Civics, that student, even though they have no content, but the way, the methodology, and everything is taught in a BEd college. Unless and until they don't know the methodology to teach, the technique you have to follow unless and until in which way we have to teach and what are the things are very very important, what are the skills are very very important for the teacher, how do you get practice of it, these are very very important. So unless and until you don't know to teach very small classes, 5 to 10 students and they cannot teach it, and 5 to 10 students are not in the school and they were not allowed the teacher trainee or student teacher or trainee to teach for the 10 students is rare to get. That is only they got this land. Then as they explain about started this micro teaching and they are yes very clever and he had told that in front of the 10 colleagues, your colleagues, those class studying teacher, Chinese student teacher in front of them only it is they should have get a practice to teach and they will get a self-confident development of the skill and they are explain about a micro teaching skill. Then only they are ready to teach for the big classes of micro teaching for 40 students. Unless and until the teacher cannot teach for student of 5 to 10 students in front of them, they cannot have a courage to teach or they cannot teach it for that 40 students. It is very difficult to teach and they cannot teach and where they are teaching also they have to there's a skill of teaching and technique of teaching different habits of teaching technique tools and everything it must be used by a teacher, otherwise teacher cannot teach it. Okay, so you have to know the micro teaching whenever you consider BEd level each and every those who are joined to the teacher training they should know about the micro teaching. It helps to the macro teaching. If you are having a correct, if you have practice to the micro teaching, it leads to macro teaching. Now, see that I used to practice in BEd college, micro teaching, macro teaching, and the teacher, I have saluted my all the teachers have made me in front of YouTube also I am teaching. 26 years experience I used to teach it in teacher educator. So that must be practice. See, without referring anything, I used to teach. So in 5 students I used to teach and I used to teach it for in front of 10 students and in front of 40 students. I used to teach. I cultivate a habit to have a micro teaching skill and everything. So that's only I have developed to teach in front of all the YouTube. In front of the world also I used to teach for English for world and Hindi for our Indian people and Marathi for Maharashtra, Tamil for Tamil student. So it is necessary that in front of the small children, if you teach it, then only you can be able to teach for the 40 people or I am teaching for the world also. So it is a must. It is a must in front of for teaching in front of all the world. It is a must that we have to get a practice to teach in the small group. Unless and until if you don't have a practice to teach in front of the small group, you cannot having a practice to teach 40 student, 100 student. Now I Manaja is teaching in the for the world in English. So micro teaching is very important. Okay, first without having a practice to teach for the 5 to 10 student, we cannot able to teach it for the full class. So this is like a basic foundation. Okay, foundation. Whenever we are making the house, how the foundation is important. Like this, micro teaching is the basic foundation to build before building the house. It's very important. It's very necessary, needed for that. If the users mean you get a confident, you have to teach very well, and you have to learn to teach any skill. You have to learn to teach a component of the different skill. To learn to teach the different factors of the different skill, and you have to know the teaching of different areas. Can using different technique tools and a response, stimulus response, and how to make it this teaching very active. So everything we used to get it. There is some micro teaching skill, very supporting. The not a demerit, drawback of you have to tell instead of demerit. Drawback of micro teaching means only using micro teaching the teacher cannot complete the teaching fully. Teaching any process won't be completed and micro teaching only technique to come out our talent to outside and using the micro teaching we can handle over the macro teaching. So micro is the key to open the macro, open the skill of all and to reach a macro teaching. So it is a basic by using the base only we cannot succeed unless and until micro teaching and macro teaching and all the various skills, technique, tools, aviates, uses, then only the teacher teaching should be completely completed. So using only micro teaching, we cannot fulfill our teaching learning process. It is